Welcome to Northern Goal, the football podcast from the Evening Express and Press and Journal. I'm Ryan Cryle, and today I'm joined in the build-up to Aberdeen's European opener against Häcken of Sweden by Sean Wallace, Andy Skinner, names you know, but also we've been joined by Linus Pettersson from the Gothenburg Post, an expert on BK Häcken, who's going to help us decide who's the favourite going into this second qualifying round tie for the Europa Conference League on Thursday. So first of all, how are we, everyone? Are we okay?
Very well, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, good. Yourself?
Thank you.
Yeah, very well. Thanks. Very well.
Linus, first of all, tell us a little bit of what you do for the Gothenburg Post, and give us that background of expertise you have on BK Häcken.
I'm a football reporter, so I'm covering BK Häcken and the other big club here in Gothenburg, IFK Gothenburg. That's kind of my main focus, but also write other sports stories, mostly football, like I said. So right now I'm sitting in a car at BK Häcken's training ground and watching them play 10 against 10 on kind of like the half pitch. So that's mostly what I do.
Okay, so first of all, we can read into that BK Häcken are counting on both teams getting a man sent off on Thursday.
Yeah, they are.
So when Aberdeen, to fill you in, Linus, if you don't know already, Aberdeen have been in Europe, I think, the last 7 seasons, and they've played in the Europa League qualifiers. Obviously, the Europa Conference League's a new competition for this season, but they've always fallen short in mostly the third qualifying round, but also the second qualifying round under the previous manager. But usually that first tie, whether that's in the first qualifying round or the second qualifying round, the opponent has always been viewed, I think, as one that Aberdeen should be beating and getting past. I think last year in the second qualifying round of the Europa League, I think it was Viking of Norway, Viking Stavanger, and Aberdeen were very much the favourites, I think, going in. Certainly here, the favourites going into that tie. This tie, we're not so sure who the favourites are going in. Obviously, when it was first drawn, Häcken were going through a bit of a slump. And Aberdeen, despite the fact they were just kind of starting their pre-season when the draw was made, and we knew they wouldn't have played competitive games by then, we were maybe thinking that the Aberdeen were potentially slight favourites, but now Häcken have seemingly turned their form around quite considerably. What's the take in Sweden? Who the BK Häcken fans think are the favourites going into this one?
I think it's a little bit open, I think, but I talked to the club director yesterday, and he sees it as a good chance to move on. So, and I was talking to one of the coaches as well when I just arrived here at the training camp, and he said, I think we should go through this. I mean, if we don't beat the fourth best team in Scotland, it's something wrong. Oh, he didn't say exactly like that, but I think they see themselves as this is a good opportunity for them. But I also think they're kind of unsure about Aberdeen. If I'm correct informed, you have played like two games now behind closed doors, and I don't think Aberdeen was so. They weren't very happy about sharing those games in video formats. So I think Häcken have some trouble scouting them. And I think they are a little bit unsure what to expect. But I think the general view is that Häcken is the favorite and they have a good opportunity to move on.
Okay, interesting. Sean, I suppose the thing that we've been talking about all through this since the draw was made was how good Häcken's squad, I think, despite the fact they were down the bottom of the Allsvenskan at one point, the fact that their squad is packed full of internationals. I suppose, Linus, how good is that Häcken squad? Because on paper, it looks pretty good. And who are the danger men, would you say, for Aberdeen?
Oh, the squad is good. It's good. It's really good. I was one of before the season. I was one of the journalists that thought they were going to win the league. So maybe that says something. Then they kind of collapsed completely and were in the bottom table. But I mean, the squad is the same, and it's got even better with Samuel Gustafsson. I don't know if you know him. Played in Italy for a lot of years, coming in this summer. So. The squad is really good. I think it's one of the best in the league. It's full of a lot of young talents and a lot of offensive play with a lot of speed. the biggest threat, I think we have a striker. They have a striker named Alexander Jeremejeff, who is, I thought, would win the score the most goal in this league. He had some troubles, but he's a really, really good striker. And then, like I said, they have a lot of offensive players with speed and talent. Guys like Patrick Wålemark is one of the biggest talents, playing on one of the wings, and also a guy named Ali Youssef. Both of them have scored, I think, 2 goals each in these last games. So those 3 is the main focus, I think.
Linus has just cemented my belief that this is an absolute nightmare draw for Aberdeen. When the draw was first made, you look at it on paper and you see that they were bottom of the table. But then on further investigation, you look at their squad packed with internationals and four wins in a row as well. It's looking increasingly difficult for Aberdeen with 2 pre-season bounce friendlies, closed door. They're going to have to really be at the top of their game immediately to get through this, I fear.
Yeah, I understand your fear, and I haven't even mentioned we have Martin Olsson, the left back, who was should have been in the Swedish Euro squad if he hadn't got injured. We have Joona Toivio, the centre back, who played Euros with Finland. We have Dalihu Irandus just coming back. He was on his way to Toulouse this winter for a transfer in about €2 million. So there are a lot of good players in this squad, and like you said, it was maybe easy to look at the table, see that they were in the bottom, and maybe okay, this would be easy. But this squad is so good, and they should be in the top of the table, I think.
Well, sorry, Linus, I was just going to ask, how key a signing is Samuel Gustafsson?
Oh, he was just walking off this practice now. He was still training with the team, so I'm a little bit unsure about his status before the game on Thursday. But I mean, it's a good signing. Of course, it is. He has played here before, and he plays on a high level. And they have I don't know if you know him, but they have a midfielder called Erik Friberg. He's played also in Italy for a lot of years, and also in the MLS. I think he has been the most important player for this team over a couple of years now. He's kind of the heart and the most important player in the build-up game. And when he has been out with some injuries, he's starting to getting old now. They haven't had a player similar to him, but now Samuel is coming in, has a little bit the same playing style. So I think in the long term, that's a very important signing and kind of a replacement for the player that I think have been the most important one, seeing in the big picture.
Linus, just following on from what you're saying there about some of the threats that BK Häcken pose, I mean, this is obviously a new competition in Europe, in the Europa Conference League. It presents the opportunity for group stage football, later in the tournament. I mean, just what is BK Häcken's kind of realistic target from this competition? How far do you believe that the club can go in Europe this season?
I was just talking to the club director yesterday and asking the same question, and he said that we're just taking one round at a time. And the last times they have been in the Euro, they have been facing Red Bull Leipzig and AZ Alkmaar, and even if they want to go through, it's nearly impossible. So I think they see a group stage coming up. I think they have the opportunity to go that far, but it's all about the draw, really. It's all about the team you're facing and making it realistic or not. We heard yesterday, right, that it's Austria Wien probably in the next round. So that's a team they could have been facing in the Europa League, I think. So it's a tough one. But it's not Red Bull Leipzig, it's not AZ Alkmaar. So I think they see possibilities.
As Linus said there, whoever comes through this tie over the next 2 Thursdays in the third qualifying round, they'll play Austria Wien, a team that probably needs no introduction. I think they've won the Austrian title more than 20 times, as well as a relatively new team to European football, Icelandic side Breiðablik. So we'll have to wait and see how that tie goes. Linus, how much do you know about the players that are maybe in, it's perhaps an odd question, but the players that are in the Aberdeen squad? Are there any names there? Because when we've looked at the Häcken squad, we obviously go on Wikipedia and we click on the names and we go on the other sites that we have to sort of, to try and assess the team from afar. But have you been doing that with Aberdeen, and what sort of players would stand out to you?
Yeah, is Sir Alex still coaching, right? No,
Not quite.
No, I was joking. No, Scott, that's the first thing you do, right? Click on the Wikipedia site and go in. And Scott Brown was the first name that caught my eyes. I didn't even know he still was playing. He's like 40-50 right now. And then I saw you transferred like an American international, right? Christian Ramirez.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of the first name that I was catching my eyes.
Interesting. So they are two players that I think none of us have actually seen play for Aberdeen yet, but Scott Brown was obviously former wildly successful Celtic captain, former Scotland captain, and he has now been awarded just this week the team captain position for Aberdeen. So that's an interesting one. I suppose finally, Linus, you touched on Sir Alex there. Presumably, is Gothenburg, is it still aware of the history and the connection that Aberdeen as a club has to the city of Gothenburg?
Yeah, I think, but not as big as I think it is in Aberdeen, because I was talking to another journalist yesterday, and he was just, the Aberdeen fans is so sorry about not being able to go to Gothenburg, and they used to travel there just to see Ullevi and and remember the good times. So I didn't know that Gothenburg meant so much for the Aberdeen fans. And I don't think the general Gothenburg inhabitant know that either. But it was nice to know that memories still are there, so to say.
Okay, yes, a good aside to this European tie. Anyway, Linus, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was very instructive. I think you've got Sean quaking in his boots ahead of the tie for the next 2 Thursdays.
Oh, Linus, just before you go, I was just going to ask you quickly. You have to forgive my pronunciation, but Delaho Irandust, is he in contention to start in the Euro tie? Because I saw the clip of his goal and he looked sensational. I know he just came on after a long-term injury.
Yeah, he's sensational. I mean, that's a really good player, but. Like I said about Samuel Gustafsson, I also saw him walk off a couple of minutes ago. So I would say it's 0% that he will start on Thursday. But they have a really good, like we talked about earlier, a really good squad. And the substitutes they had in the last game, that was just terrifying. I mean, someone wrote on Twitter, "Is this the best bench ever in the history of Allsvenskan?" And maybe it wasn't that good, but they got so many options right now. And we saw Delaho Irandust coming on the last game, scoring that goal. So I think we also have to focus on the finishing 11 as much as the starting 11 in this game.
It's comforting to know that the bench is just as strong as well.
Maybe it was a big Häcken fan wrote it, but it said something. It says something.
Okay, well, Linus, again, thank you. We'll let you go now, but much appreciated for joining us in Northern Goal. And well, good luck. Sure, you share the same sentiments, but good luck to BK Häcken on Thursday, and may the best team come through this tie.
Sounds good. Nice talking to you.
Are you a Don supporting Loon or Quine? You're probably pictured in the Red Army book. Do you know any Aberdeen supporters? They're probably in the book too. You, your friends, your family, your tribe are in this book. This is a football book with a difference. It isn't really about the players, the games, the on-field achievements. It's about you, the supporter. It tells the story of the supporter's journey. It shows them in the glory years, the lean years, in song, in anger, and in pubs. It shows the Red Army on the march, laughing and celebrating, home and away, young and old, for better or worse. Have a look through the book. Every few pages you exclaim, "I ken that lad. I was there. I remember that." Or, "Furry boots is yon." There has never been an Aberdeen book like this. There never will be again. As a Northern Goal listener, you can get an exclusive 20% discount on Red Army at dcthomsonshop.co.uk using the code ARMY20 at checkout. That's ARMY20 at the checkout of dcthomsonshop.co.uk. Check the episode notes for details and terms.
Okay, in this second part of this week's episode of Northern Goal, we must discuss the situation at Ross County. They've had a tough couple of weeks. First of all, they had to forfeit their Premier Sports Cup clash against Forfar due to a COVID outbreak at the club, and the after effects were felt so keenly that they then had to forfeit, despite initially not looking like they would. Their clash against newly promoted Premiership side Dundee in the same competition. So that's Ross County's hopes of progressing in the League Cup this season effectively over. And I think more concerningly, Malky Mackay has not yet had a competitive game as Ross County manager, although that will hopefully change tomorrow night when they visit local Highland League rivals Brora Rangers. Andy, tough one for County, but it just kind of shows you, like, once the virus gets into a club, how devastating it can be, and how it can rip through pretty much everyone in the vicinity.
Yeah, it's a situation that we've kind of feared may happen at any club, and up to this point, it hasn't really taken hold in a way like this. Throughout the last 12 months, we've seen situations where a few players have had to self-isolate and have missed games and training sessions as a result of that. But I'm struggling to remember a situation where the whole squad has kind of had to shut down, and it's even beyond the self-isolation period that has taken hold, because as Malky Mackay said, the players returned late last week for training, and they were just unable to get through even half a session before they had to close things down again. And just the toll that the virus has obviously taken on the players physically, is something that does sometimes take time to recover from. I think Malky Mackay pointed out yesterday that sometimes the government directive for recovering from COVID can be up to 3 weeks, but football players, despite them being professional athletes, they're no different to that at times, and it affects people in different ways. This is maybe a timely reminder that the actual health impacts of it can really play havoc on the fitness of players, and it's something that we've got to be mindful of as we kind of approach the beginning of the Premiership season.
Sorry, I was going to say, just on the beginning of the Premiership season, obviously Malky Mackay still got a bit of squad rebuilding to do, and he talked about this at his press conference yesterday. We're here about 11 days, I think, before Ross County start their league campaign, and he still feels like he needs to make 5 signings, but it's been impossible to do so because of the situation at the club. If you're positive for COVID, which presumably Malky himself was, then you can't be going out and meeting players, and you can't be giving, selling the club to players. It's pretty difficult. I mean, you can try your best, but it's just, it all seems to be piling up a little bit ahead of the season starting. I feel like I would hope Ross County can get their preparations done in time and to a sufficient level. But if I was a Stags fan, I'd be worried going into the new campaign, especially when they've over the summer they've made moves to try and make it so Ross County can move away from being a sort of relegation fighting club every season. It feels like the universe has conspired against them a little bit.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, it was just what Andy touched on there. I think he's got a really strong point that it's often overlooked with regards to footballers when someone tests positive for COVID. There's just this assumption that they're going to return to football immediately as soon as their isolation period's over, and it'll be at tip-top condition, ready to compete at a high level. But I mean, this is a nasty disease, virus that takes its toll on people. I mean, I know people in their 20s that have been really floored by this, and it's taken them a while to recover. And I think that's often overlooked when it comes to footballers.
I was just going to say on Ryan's point about the preparation for the season. I mean, I think that will be the biggest frustration for Malky, really, because it's clearly a team that's in transition. They're looking to produce a freshened up squad. They released the bulk of the experienced core that they had at the end of last season. It's probably fair to say, the core of the side for the last few seasons, and there was a desire there to bring about a freshness, and 4 players have come in, but to have only played one bounce game against Elgin so far is far from ideal at this stage, and the fact that Malky's indicating that there could still be 5 players to come in, it doesn't give them a lot of time. They've got a friendly against Brora, a cup match against Brora tomorrow, and they finish off the group campaign against Montrose on Saturday. And obviously, qualification through into the knockout stage is beyond them now. But I think the bigger frustration really will be the fact that as a team in transition, they were kind of banking on this League Cup section as a key part of their build-up to the league season. For them to have missed out on 2 games over and above that is something that's just going to delay them even more. And you look at the start to the season that they've got, at home to the double cup winners from last season in St Johnstone, before they play the top 4 from last season in succession. So it certainly does look like a pretty punishing couple of weeks coming up. But you'd like to think that Malky will have a decent idea of where his players are going to come from and who he's going to look to add at this stage. And hopefully now that things are up and running again, they'll be able to move quite quickly to get everything in place.
Okay, well, let's move on. After this short break, we'll discuss the rest of our teams and how they're getting on in the Premier Sports Cup this season. Okay, so since we last recorded an episode last Tuesday, there have been 8 games, I think, in the Premier Sports Cup involving our teams on Tuesday night. I think the games all maybe went as expected. Hearts beating Cove 3-0 at Tynecastle, Dundee beating Brora 4-0 at Dens. I think both Cove and Brora would discuss last week the fact that they pretty undercooked at this stage, given the difficulties with arranging pre-season friendlies for teams at part-time level. I think the big result between 2 of our teams was Inverness beating Peterhead 2-0 in Inverness, which kind of set the Cali Jags up to maybe progress from the group stages for the first time if they could get a result against Stirling again at the Caledonian Stadium on Saturday. Between those games, there was a 6-1 thrashing for Elgin at Tannadice against Dundee United. But yes, Inverness, Andy, they let an opportunity pass them by, didn't they? Drawing 2-2 with Stirling on Saturday and then losing the penalty
bit
shootout.
of a strange game, this one. And Billy Dodds said yesterday that he felt the players were a wee bit startled. In the opening stages, I think just a pretty frenetic opening 20 minutes or so, in which Sean Welsh picked up an injury. I think there was a penalty shout for Stirling Albion as well, and maybe just the intent that Stirling Albion as the League 2 side showed in the early stages, perhaps, as he put it, startled his players a wee bit, and they found themselves 2-0 down, chasing the game at an early stage. Did well to get back, and at least salvage the point, which took it to a penalty shootout. But to miss out on the bonus point leaves them with a real tall order. I suppose it's, as you touched on earlier, I think it's probably the frustration of not being able to build on what was a really promising first game in charge, competitive game anyway, against Peterhead for Billy Dodds. Won that one 2-0 and sounded really comfortable and convincing, with a couple of attacking players getting their names on the score sheet in Manny Duku and Aaron Doran. But if they were able to follow that up with another positive result against Stirling Albion, then they'd be looking at the final 2 games with a lot of confidence. But they're kind of chasing things now a wee bit. They play Cove tonight at the Balmoral Stadium, and it's a game that they have to win, really. It'll take them to the final day if they do, and then looking at Hearts at Tynecastle, I think the minimum they really need from that would be the point and the bonus point as well by winning the penalty shootout. But ideally, 2 wins would be, what they would target to seal their progression.
I think Cove, they have obviously had not the best start to their Premier Sports Cup campaign. They went down on Saturday as well, 3-1 to another of our teams, Peterhead at Balmoor. But I think the consensus is, as good a result as that was for Peterhead, I think Cove, Paul Hartley, Ian Vigurs, I've seen both of them saying that it's not good enough and it's not what Cove aspire to be this season. Obviously, Cove are one of the favourites for the League One title. Peterhead have maybe flown a little bit under the radar, but they're looking good. The other result was Brora losing to Forfar. I think again, it's a team from above Brora in terms of the league structure, but I know it was one they went into hopeful they could maybe start picking up points and scoring goals in. But their Highland League campaign gets underway next week against away at Devon Vale. So yeah, we'll see how this Premier Sports Cup campaign has benefited them. They've still got, all our teams I think have still got games to play. Obviously Cove, Inverness tonight, as you touched on, Andy. We've also got the interesting game between Elgin and Kelty, which will give us a real sense of how League 2 could pan out this season. Elgin obviously nearly men in that division, Kelty a team that have just come up and will be hopeful of making this up progress Cove have seen since climbing the pyramid. Brora take on Ross County, as we've also discussed. Tomorrow night. On Saturday, we round off things with Stirling against Peterhead, East Fife against Elgin, County against Montrose, and Hearts against Inverness on the Sunday. So, yeah, then we're on to the league fixtures. Anyway, I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussion of them on next week's podcast, but we'll move on for a short discussion on the Highland League getting underway this coming weekend. Okay, so it's finally upon us, the 24th of July, the day the Highland League kicks off. We've also, in the last few days, had the Aberdeenshire Cup final, and who's going to be playing in that set in stone and where it's going to be played. That's last season's Aberdeenshire Cup. The draw for next season's has also been made. But yeah, starting with those Highland League fixtures, I don't know if you guys have a pick of the games you think are the most interesting ones. I think Brechin City against Turriff, with Brechin being a team that's obviously dropped out with the SPFL, that'll be an interesting one straight away, and we'll be able to see how strong Brechin could be in the Highland League this coming campaign. As usual, it'll be interesting to see how all our title hopefuls, Buckie Thistle hosting Lossiemouth, Brora, as I said, at Devon Vale, Fraserburgh against Formartine, playing each other ahead of playing the 2020-21 Aberdeenshire Cup final next midweek. Inverurie Locos as well, Rothes. What's the game that you guys will be keeping an eye on this weekend?
I'm going to throw in one that you haven't mentioned, actually. I'm going to look at Forest's Wick Academy. I think there's a lot of build-up to Forest returning to action. I think it's great to see after they took the decision not to participate last season, and for them to be able to open with a home game against Wick, where they'll be allowed some fans in. I just think that's got the makings of a really nice occasion, and I've got reasonably high hopes for the Can-Cans this season as well. I think they've retained the majority of players that they finished the truncated 2019-20 season with. Obviously, a few of the players in that squad opted to go out on loan for last season, which was obviously truncated again. But at that point, there were maybe fears that some of them might not return. But no, they've held on to the bulk of the squad, and they've added with some good signings as well, with Paul Brindle probably being the headline one coming from Brora. I think he's had a frustrating time at Brora maybe in the last couple of seasons, but I think once he's up and firing again, he can be a a real danger man for Charlie Rowley's side. So no, I'm going to be quite intrigued to see how Forest kind of settle back into the league.
Sean, you're a follower of Keith, aren't you? Obviously, they begin their season hosting Nairn County, which will be a challenging game, even more so given the news that there have been whispers on for a while. He's a friend of the show, but Cammy Keith, the 350-goal Highland League goal-scoring legend, who had also scored, I think it was like 230 odd for Keith. He has hung up his boots, which is going to be a huge blow for them, because I suppose Keith are one of those teams that have got a sort of always in recent times had a small group of experienced players with a lot of young guys, and to lose one of those big sort of giants that knows what it's like to win the league and win every piece of silverware, that's going to be a tough one to replace. Cammy.
Yeah, a huge blow. Cammy Keith hanging up his boots. I mean, he's been prolific for so many seasons. A great player. I mean, he did the job as well during his time at Formartine. It's going to be very, very difficult to find someone that can deliver that level of goals, and he's also like a talisman for the club. Hopefully this is a good season for Keith, but the omens aren't the best following the recent result with Fraserburgh, but there's living hope. Obviously,
it should be noted as well with Cammy that he even picked up a Highland League golden boot in, I think, was it 1920? Despite the fact that Keith were a mid-table side, which is pretty impressive. Guys, obviously, first of all, I touched on Fraserburgh Formartine United. Obviously, over the weekend, Fraserburgh beat Keith 4-1 at Kynoch Park in the 2020-21 Evening Express Aberdeenshire Cup semi-final to set up the final, which will be played next midweek, so a week tomorrow, at Harlaw Park in Inverurie. So not only do Fraserburgh and Formartine play each other at the Bellsleigh this Saturday in their opening league fixture, they then play each other for I say the first bit of silverware of this season, but it's technically last season's, but they play each other in midweek as well. So that'll be an interesting double header for two teams that are probably hopeful of challenging your Brecons and your Broras for the Highland League title and other honours. If you had to put your money, if you had to put your house, if you had to put your car on a team that's going to take the Highland League title this season, be it Brecon, Brora, Fraserburgh, Formartine, or any of the other ones I've noted as potential challengers, who would you back?
Well, it's always a tough one. I'm probably going to stick with Brora, to be honest. And I know they maybe haven't had the most seamless of starts as regards the Premier Sports Cup, and obviously their recent form, taking into consideration the tail end of last season. They lost their last three games, the doubleheader against Kelty and the Scottish Cup tie against Stranraer. So it's not been a great period for Brora, albeit over a lengthy period of time since that Hearts Cup win that they had. But still, even though they've chopped and changed their squad a wee bit, I still think they've got the nucleus of a really, really dangerous Highland League side, and on their day I think they take some stopping. So I think they will just have enough to carry through. But there is so much intrigue as to what Brecon are going to offer as well, because they've kind of reshuffled things with a new direction. Andy Kirk taking over as head coach with Craig Levine, in an upstairs role. So, there is a wee bit of kind of uncertainty as to how they will compete against some of the challenging sides in the Highland League, and where they'll measure against them. But if you were pushing me on it, then I would stick with Brora.
I'm anticipating a really close title race. I mean, there's a number of clubs with legitimate aspirations for winning that title. Every season, the Highland League tends to throw up these fantastic title races. This season, I've just got a funny feeling for the Broch, so I'm going to say Fraserburgh to edge it.
You've jumped the gun on what I was going to say there, Sean. Yes, I would love to see I'd love to see Fraserburgh do it, but I suppose it all, as always, it all depends on whether all the top teams can take points off each other, or one sort of is able to, consistently get the wins against their rivals, as is the case in every league. So I think we'll leave it there for today. Obviously a very interesting episode with Linus Pettersson from the Gothenburg Post joining us, and Ross County's travails in the Highland League and the Premier Sports Cup fixtures to look forward to in the coming days. Thanks to Andy and Sean for joining me today. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
If you've enjoyed this episode and you've got any questions or comments, you can email northerngoal@dctmedia.co.uk. You can subscribe on your favourite podcast app. And finally, well, let's hope Aberdeen can get the win that they can take over to Gothenburg next Thursday when they meet Häcken for the first time in a couple of days. See you later. Hope you loved the episode, and if you did, we'd be grateful if you could leave us a review or rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to pick up your copies of the Press and Journal and Evening Express every day for the best football writing and analysis in the North.